Most grapplers are terrified of tapping. They treat it like failure, something to avoid at all costs. But here's the truth most people never figure out. In Jiu-Jitsu, defeat is victory. The athletes who improve the fastest aren't the ones desperately clinging on trying not to lose. They're the ones who stop fighting the tap and start learning from it. And once you understand why, your entire game opens up. When you stop clinging to survival and start embracing the learning hidden inside every tap, you unlock a level of growth that rigid, ego-driven training can never give you. Today I want to explain why tapping is actually the fastest shortcut to mastery, how to rewire your ego around training, and how to turn dangerous positions into your personal laboratory for learning. I'm Hadrian, a Jiu-Jitsu black belt, coach, and former competitor. I'm also deep into middle age, up to my neck in work, family, and life. And I'm going to share with you some of the practices and strategies, the philosophies even, that keep me competitive, healthy, and learning on the mat. Now, I used to treat every roll like a battlefield. If I tapped, I felt like I'd failed the tribe, failed myself. So I'd cling on, muscling everything, holding my breath, rigid as a steel beam right before it snaps. The joke, of course, was on me. That constant tension kept me stuck at the same level for a long, long time. Now, it wasn't until I started training with older black belts, the calm killers who looked like they were just out for a Sunday stroll, then I noticed something interesting. They tapped a lot during training, and they didn't care. Not even a little, because they weren't defending their ego. They were sharpening their game, and that's when everything started to change for me. Now, John Danaher's got a story about how when people used to come to train with him, and they'd roll with Gary Tonin, they'd, guys from out of town, guys from wherever, they'd come and they'd train, they'd roll with Tonin expecting to be steamrolled, and they'd end up tapping him multiple times in a roll, and they'd leave the gym laughing at how easy they found it. Oh, I managed to get Gary Tonin. It wasn't difficult at all. I caught him, 3 times in 5 minutes. What they didn't understand is that Gary Tonin was allowing himself to get into, for them to put him into dangerous spots just so that he could learn and understand what it took for him to then get out of those dangerous spots, to defend the attack, to defend the submission, and then to escape. And of course, in that process, because he didn't care about getting tapped, he wasn't defending his ego, he was there to learn, he was there to experiment. In that process, part of that process was getting tapped frequently. These guys didn't realize that. They were there to win. They were there to score points or whatever it was, to make a name for themselves. Tonin was there as a mad scientist. He was there to understand, to deepen his knowledge of the art to a level that most people can only dream of. And that's what separates John Danaher's guys from a lot of other competitors out there. Those guys treated their training environment like a laboratory setting. So check it out. When you tap in training, you're not losing. You're downloading information. You're telling your nervous system, this is safe. Learn from it. Get better. Most people never reach this layer of understanding because their ego doesn't let them stay in the fire long enough to actually learn anything from it. If you are terrified of tapping, you'll do the one thing that guarantees failure. You'll tighten up. You'll resist, strain, panic, and burn energy trying to avoid the inevitable. But rigid bodies don't learn. Flexible minds learn. The moment you stop protecting your pride and start protecting your progress, everything about your training changes for the better. When you're no longer afraid of tapping, you gain the freedom to explore. You can go deeper into positions you would normally avoid, just like Gary Tonin. You can stay longer in dangerous spots instead of immediately scrambling away. You start observing instead of panicking, feeling the mechanics of what's actually happening instead of guessing your way through it. And that's where real jiu-jitsu is learned, inside the positions that you hate the most. Comfort zones never built champions. Or expert jiu-jitsu practitioners. The more time you spend surviving, not escaping instantly, but truly surviving, the more your body becomes immune to danger. Your defense becomes instinctive. You stop reacting with fear and start responding with clarity. The positions that used to feel terrifying begin to feel familiar. And once your defense becomes a fortress, something very interesting happens. Your offense suddenly starts to improve as well. Confidence doesn't come from hitting submissions. Confidence comes from knowing that even if things go wrong, horribly wrong, you're fine. This is something that both Hickson and Roger Gracie, two of the greatest to ever pull on a pair of gi pants, both agree on. Make your defense impregnable because everything else flows from there. Once you trust your defense, you're far more willing to take risks. You attack more, you open up, you explore new options, you stop hesitating. And a confident athlete, an athlete who isn't afraid of what might happen, is incredibly difficult to deal with. And this is the whole idea of training intelligently for longevity, learning to stay calm, protect your body, and keep progressing over time. It's actually why I created my Roll Forever cheat sheet. It's a free resource that gives you 7 very simple cues you can plug straight into your next session to help you roll longer and stronger. Warm-up primers, between round resets, post-roll recovery cues, it's all in there. If that sounds useful, click the link below and grab it. And make sure you double check your inbox after you download it, because I've included a little gift in there as well to help you go even deeper into longevity training if that's something you're thinking about. Again, the link is below. Now here's a simple drill you can try this week. Pick one position you absolutely hate. Side control, bottom, mount, back control, whatever it is. Whatever makes your buttocks clench when someone gets there. And instead of scrambling like a cat in a bathtub trying to instantly escape, stay there for 10 or 20 seconds longer than you normally would. Breathe, relax your jaw, feel what's actually happening. When it becomes too much, tap, smile, reset, repeat. Do that consistently for a month and you'll become a very different grappler. Training is not competition. Training is where you die 1,000 small deaths so you can be reborn better. Remember this, defeat is data, tapping is learning, defense builds offense, and confidence comes from survival. And ego is the only real opponent most of us, are fighting. Train smart, stay fluid, and remember, in training, defeat is victory. And while you're here, watch this next video where I talk about submissions and why the best in the game don't focus on catching the submission, they lead their opponents to it. I'll see you there.